Michigan isn't just about the modern cities of Detroit or Grand Rapids. There's another side, much quieter, maybe even too quiet. Beyond the vast lakes and endless pine forests lie towns so remote that even maps hesitate to include them. But it's in places like these where the most interesting stories are born. From towns truly isolated and full of challenges to ones that hold rare charm or priceless history. Here are 15 remote towns in Michigan, divided into 4 categories: the hardest to live in, the most unique, the most comfortable despite being far from the crowds, and those that preserve nearly forgotten pieces of history. Let's start with the worst category of remote towns. And by worst, we mean the usual issues: lack of access, limited quality of life, and minimal facilities. Naubinway seems to check all those boxes. The reason is simple: getting to this town feels like stepping back in time. Located along US Route 2, Naubinway is surrounded by vast forests and the quiet shores of Lake Michigan. Fewer than 100 people live here, and you'll only find 1 or 2 small stores selling basic goods. As for hospitals or other services, don't expect them. In winter, heavy snow cuts off the roads, making the town feel even more isolated. Many young people have left, leaving behind a small, aging population still holding on. Naubinway is a classic example of a town lost in silence, showing the fragile side of life in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Not far from Naubinway lies Engadine, a place that feels more like a forgotten village, rarely mentioned in conversation. Old wooden houses line the road, some empty, most quiet, with little sign of life. Time seems to move slowly here. No supermarkets, no busy centers, just silence and surrounding nature. While its peacefulness has beauty, life in Engadine is full of limits. The internet is slow, jobs are scarce, and healthcare access is minimal. In short, this isn't a place for anyone who needs connection, whether digital or social. Next, have you ever heard of Gulliver? The name may sound charming, but reality says otherwise. Set quietly near Lake Michigan's edge, it's surrounded by dense forest and marshland. Some homes are still occupied, but many are empty or run down. Life in Gulliver hasn't changed much in decades. There are no schools, hospitals, or real public services. But it does have one proud landmark: the historic Sol Schwa Point Lighthouse. For many, this town feels like a waiting room for nothingness, a place where people either truly love solitude or simply have nowhere else to go. Also, if you drive northeast from Munising, you'll pass through Shingleton. But don't be surprised if you miss it entirely. This town is tiny, quiet, and deeply remote. Surrounded by forests and empty land, Shingleton looks much the same as it always has. There's no real community center, just a few houses and aging buildings. It once thrived from the timber industry, but that was long ago. Now, all that's left are memories, empty roads, and snow that comes too early. Still, it's somewhat known for its outdoor recreation, from exploring Chapel Rock to the untouched Miners Beach, or nearby spots like Lake Nevins and Kinsey. But even so, Shingleton isn't a place to settle down. It's a town quietly left behind by time. But not all remote towns are bleak. Some, though far from the crowds, stand out for their unique charm, whether it's history, culture, or just a quirky name and vibe. So now we move on to the next category, the most unique remote towns. Imagine a town that celebrates Christmas every single day of the year. That's Christmas, a small town sitting along Highway M28. From a giant Santa Claus statue to festive lights that stay on year-round, Christmas truly lives in a never-ending holiday spirit. But behind its cheerful name, this town of about 400 people remains quiet, remote, and simple. There are only a few seasonal shops and small inns. Tourists usually stop briefly for a photo, then move on. Christmas is a strange mix of festivity and loneliness, making it one of Michigan's most unique places. Then there's Beaver Island, a place you simply can't skip. Reaching the largest island in Lake Michigan takes a ferry or a small plane, but its uniqueness goes far beyond being isolated. In the mid-19th century, Beaver Island was actually a theocratic kingdom led by its own king, James Strang, a Mormon leader who built a closed religious community. Now, that's all history. What remains is a small community, dirt roads, and peaceful nature. In summer, artists and solitude seekers arrive. But in winter, the island feels completely cut off from the world. And if there's any place in Michigan that truly feels like the end of the world, it's Isle Royale. Located deep in the middle of Lake Superior, like Beaver Island, it can only be reached by boat or small aircraft. There are no cars, no stable internet, and no permanent settlements. Just a national park, wildlife, and hundreds of kilometers of hiking trails. Windigo, one of its few access points, is the symbol of total remoteness and silence. Each season, only a few people come to hike, camp, and reconnect with nature. Here, you'll hear your own thoughts more clearly than any other human voice. Now heading farther south, we arrive at Mackinaw City. At first glance, it may look like your average tourist town. But don't be fooled. This place stands at the border of two worlds, connecting the lower and upper peninsulas through the massive Mackinac Bridge. With just over 800 residents, the town gets busy in summer as travelers pass through on their way to Mackinac Island. But outside the holiday season, it returns to its true form: quiet, cold, and remote. Its spot at the tip of the peninsula gives it an almost disconnected feel. But remoteness doesn't always mean limitation, right? Some towns turn silence into peace, isolation into quality of life. The next towns may be far from industry hubs, but that's exactly what makes them the best of Michigan's remote towns. First up is a small town on the southern edge of the Upper Peninsula, facing the vast Lake Michigan. Its name is Manistique, and it has a charm all its own. Picture a quiet main street, a bold lighthouse on the pier, and wide lake views, all giving off the feeling of a perfect escape from the noise of the modern world. With a population of over 1,800, people here live simply and peacefully. There's no noise pollution, only natural light and the soft sound of water. Even though it's far from industry centers, the town has decent basic facilities and a warm, close-knit community. For anyone seeking a slower pace of life, Manistique is the very definition of authentic calm. Also offering a similarly peaceful and genuine vibe is this town. Known as the gateway to Pictured Rock's National Lakeshore, Munising is a hidden gem blending natural beauty with a peaceful way of life. In summer, the town comes alive with tourists and local festivals. But when winter arrives, it becomes a snowy, silent retreat. It's fairly accessible for a place in the Upper Peninsula and has enough facilities to cover basic needs. Yes, living far from the city doesn't mean sacrificing quality of life, and Munising proves it. Moving north to the Leelanau Peninsula, we reach Northport, a small town with an artsy vibe and a soothing landscape. Remote? Absolutely, but its community sees distance from the crowds as a strength. Many artists, retirees, and remote workers settle here for the peaceful setting that inspires creativity and reflection. Vineyards stretch across the land, lake breezes flow in from all directions, and the town streets are calm and quiet. Though far from major cities, Northport has a charm that makes people want to stay longer. And what about this town? Surrounded by the natural wonder of Sleeping Bear Dunes, Glen Arbor is rightly called a hidden paradise in Michigan. Though just a small village, its beauty is exceptional. Pine forests, small lakes, and giant sand dunes make every corner of Glen Arbor feel like a painting. The population is small, only 280 people, but the community is strong and welcoming. You'll find small shops, art galleries, and family-run inns. From every angle, this is not just a place to live, it's a place to rediscover peace. It offers a quiet that doesn't bore you, it heals you. And finally, we come to the towns that once thrived on mining, shipping, or trade. Today, they hold countless stories of the past. Let's move on to the final category, historic remote towns. First up is St. Ignace, a town that guarantees an unforgettable experience. Established in the 17th century, it's one of the oldest settlements in the entire Great Lakes region. During the colonial era, it served as a major hub for French-British trade and was a key route between the Old World and the New. Today, St. Ignace may not be as bustling as it once was, but traces of its past remain visible on every corner. From the harbor to museums preserving Ojibwe heritage and colonial buildings, the town holds a deep story of cultural convergence. Though tucked away at the end of the Mackinac Bridge, St. Ignace still lives on, just at a slower pace than during its golden age. Next, we head to Delaware, a place that's hard to find, even on a map. Back in its prime, it was a vital center for copper mining in the Keweenaw Peninsula, but that glory didn't last long. When the mines closed, most of its residents, mainly miners, slowly left, leaving behind old buildings and dirt roads few people travel. Today, Delaware is home to only around 770 people, standing as a living monument. Visitors can still take tours to explore the remnants of the town's mining legacy. Even more remote than Delaware is Mandan, a ghost town that's completely silent. On most maps, there are barely any buildings marked. Deep in the heart of the Keweenaw Forest, Mandan was once a lively mining camp. Now, all that remains are ruins, old foundations, and a heavy stillness. No stores, No permanent residents, just the occasional explorer or historical photographer seeking what's left of a vanished mining age. In many ways, Mandan reminds us that a town can rise because of gold or copper, but it dies when the resource runs dry. It's a shadow of the past still standing, barely remembered, but never fully erased. From snow-covered towns most of the year, to remote islands with religious kingdoms, and ghost towns deep in the forest, Michigan holds countless stories in its silence. Remoteness isn't just about geography, it's about identity, about how towns survive or slowly disappear. In the end, some places may seem unimportant to the modern world, but it's in those places we find meaning, resilience, and even a kind of sacred beauty. So, out of these 15 towns, which one caught your attention? Or who knows, maybe you've even lived in one of them.